Since the literal beginning of video games, there has always been a player 2. Luigi in Super Mario Bros., Tails in Sonic 2 and 3, and Knuckles.
Oh no!
The right paddle in Pong palette swap Donkey Kong Jr. in Donkey Kong Jr. Math? Anyone?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
It only makes sense. Video games are fun. Doing things with another person is fun. Put the two together and you have a recipe for a great time. Case in point, Lego games. I don't need to explain the appeal of these games. We've all played them. We've all played them with another person. Unless you're a lonely freak. I mean, sure, sometimes you get stuck having to play with some stupid, idiot kid at the neighborhood function who doesn't realize he needs to hit the switch in order to progress, you absolute toaster of a human being. But for every one of those times, there's you and another person going ham through every level, collecting every stud, comboing every enemy into oblivion, putting forth the best of teamwork, making that dream work. But alas, as fun as it can be, any true gamer knows that player 1 and player 2 are not always equals, and Lego games are no different. So today, allow me to take a few moments of your time to tell you about the worst, best, and weirdest player 2 characters in Lego games, starting off with the one, the only, a classic, an absolute banger of a time, bruv. Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga is simple, charming, an absolute blast with plenty of meat on its bones to darn near last a lifetime, 2 players or otherwise. However, a level player 2 most likely won't be enjoying themselves in is Episode 2, Chapter 2, Discovery on Kamino. In this level, player 1 controls Obi-Wan Kenobi as they navigate the Kaminoan halls, solving puzzles, discovering the clone army, tangling with Jango Fett. It's a fun level. If you're player 1, player 2 is R4P17, Obi-Wan's astromech, whose entire purpose in the level is activating droid panels. They try to give you stuff to do, stopping enemies from spawning, activating turrets to fire against the Slave 1. Please don't demonetize me, YouTube. But let's be honest, if you're playing co-op and this level is next, you're either dropping out to grab a snack, or take a piss, or you're coping and telling yourself it's actually fun while Obi-Wan is platforming over gaps and cutting through sentry droids. Oh my god, R4! Stop the droids! Stop them! You need to save me! Help! Please! 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 Somebody! Oh my god! Please! Somebody help! R4! You know what's funny about Obi-Wan having a level where the second player is really just there for support? Is that it happens twice. Insert that meme of Doofenshmirtz right here. Episode 3, Chapter 3, General Grievous sees Obi-Wan and Commander Cody take on the ruthless General Grievous. I never would have seen that coming. Seriously? Cody is almost completely dependent on Obi-Wan in this level and is only able to damage Grievous by shooting explosive barrels next to him because bosses in this game laugh at a blaster. They deflect it every time. It's ridiculous. So while Obi-Wan and Grievous duke it out in an epic final battle, Cody must stand there and watch like some cuck in the corner. At least with R4, you literally can't attack, and Discovery on Kamino is a slower paced level anyway, but here the whole level is the boss fight. And to top it all off, Cody dies, despite that not being the case in Revenge of the Sith, but details, player 2 takes it like a good player 2 does. Man, you know, if only player 2 had a little consolation, you know? Something to make those last 2 levels more bearable, because they knew something better was on the horizon. Rebel Friend is the quintessential player 2 character in Lego games. He checks all the boxes. Doesn't exist in the original source material, made solely because the level needed a character for player 2 to use, only in said level. Halfway through episode 4, chapter 1, Secret Plans, Princess Leia takes her leave to, I don't know, faint or whatever, who cares, leaving Captain Antilles, R2, and C-3PO to seemingly escape the Tantive IV themselves, until they come across Rebel Friend, locked in a 2v1 blaster fight. Upon helping him, Rebel Friend joins your party, and the rest is history. Rebel Friend is easily the best player 2 character in any LEGO game. As I said, he checks all the boxes, and when you first find him, he's fighting for his life in a desperate situation you want to help him with. What makes him even better for me is that Traveler's Tales could have either just had him be a basic blue rebel trooper or not had him at all and forced player 2 to switch between R2 and C-3PO, but they didn't. They made a new character, likely knowing that player 1 would hog Captain Antilles, because let's be honest, despite his appearance in episode 4, Captain Antilles is awesome, and anyone who's smart wouldn't switch off him either. But if I'm player 1 and player 2 gets to run around as this cool new rebel in a red polo, I'm getting jealous, because Rebel Friend is that guy and has quite literally stood the test of time. He's a meme, he's a character in the Skywalker saga, he's a modded hero in Battlefront 2, he makes player 1 look like player 0, and we all need a Rebel Friend in our lives. LEGO Indiana Jones, while not as impactful as the complete saga, is absolutely just as fun, and I would say even more well designed. With better puzzles and more engaging level design, it did everything a sequel should, ironing out the kinks of the first game while expanding on what it did right. And that extends to the multiplayer. Character abilities from the Ladies High Jump, the Shovel, the Book, and Small Hatches are all used quite frequently throughout the game, meaning player 1 or 2 won't find themselves with nothing to do for too long. Despite this, and despite the fact that LEGO Indiana Jones doesn't have a single filler player 2 character, you might still find yourself feeling slighted if you're the one holding the second controller. This is because out of the 19 levels in the game, including the bonus level, less than half give you more than 2 characters, and half of those levels only give you more than 2 for a portion of them. This means player 2 almost never gets to play as Indiana Jones himself. And who wouldn't want to play as him? It's Indiana Jones. Imagine a Transformers game where Optimus is only playable in like a third of it. That's probably a bad example. Or a TMNT game where only 2 of the turtles are playable. You're not getting the whole experience. Indiana Jones is also objectively the best character in the game. He's the only character with a whip, and a handful of levels just straight up give you abilities like the Shovel or Book as pickups. Meaning, in these levels, Indiana can quickly become a Swiss Army knife character that can practically solo the level while player 2 feels increasingly more and more incompetent. Again, it's not quite as bad as the complete saga. Player 2 is never given a near worthless character while player 1 has all the fun, and there's still opportunities for P2 to get their Indiana fix, so long that player 1 isn't a jerk and hogs him. Change your character, Dean. Change to short round. It's my turn to be Indiana, you son of a bitch. Yet another classic from Traveler's Tales. I'm noticing a trend here. LEGO Batman keeps up the momentum the last 2 games started. More puzzles, more enemies, more bosses. This game makes you feel like Batman, just like how getting blackout drunk on Christmas makes me feel like a failure of a son. Unless, of course, you're player 2. Unlike the previous 2 LEGO games, which give you a good amount of characters to play as throughout their respective stories, LEGO Batman, at least for the hero side of things, we'll get to that in a bit, don't you beautiful people worry, sees you playing as only Batman and Robin for the entire adventure. Player 1 is Batman, player 2, of course, as Robin. But wait a minute, Easy, I hear you say to yourself, you weirdo. Robin's really cool. Don't diss the boy wonder. And yeah, this Robin's cool. This Robin's cool. And this Robin is really cool. This Robin, however, he's not that cool. In fact, the game goes out of its way to make this Robin seem like the biggest loser there is. I mean, my guy, get your head in the game. In my opinion, he's just not as fun to play as compared to Batman. Batman gets to glide around and blow stuff up like silver objects and glass, and his heat suit just looks so cool. Robin gets a vacuum cleaner, a slow as molasses magnet suit, a very situational scuba suit, and the technology suit is pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. Am I nitpicking and being a bit selective? Maybe, but Batman really does seem to be the better option in terms of both gameplay and cutscenes. But hey, we all know that's only half the game. LEGO Batman features an entire villain campaign with the Caped Crusader's entire rogue gallery to play as. The chapters see the Riddler, Penguin, and Joker take the forefront as the main baddies. So surely they're given the role of player 1, right? Right? right?
You don't know who I am? Boy, you finna find out. Your barbecue, boy. Sunday school special shirt ass, boy. Your ass is like an exotic cricket. Your little
Despite being the leader of their respective bunches, you know them well, Player 1 plays as the secondary villain for most of the villain levels. Oh sure, the game switches it up every once in a while, but for about 80% of LEGO Batman the video game, Player 2 is granted a granddaddy, heapin' helpin', uber generous total of 4 playable characters. If that isn't the definition of putting Player 2 in their place, I don't know what is. Hey, remember that time I made a horrible review of this game that got panned, so I made a re-review that was way better that everyone liked? Good times. Also, there's a janitor here for some reason. LEGO Indiana Jones 2, despite being the most different out there, throw at the wall and see what sticks LEGO game, is actually pretty consistent with its Player 2 characters. A lot of the scenes in the franchise just have someone to fill that spot, so coming up with someone solely for it is never really necessary. Except, of course, in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Such a good movie. Ooh. In the first level of the game, players control Indy and Mac as they're forced to make their way through a warehouse to find the Crystal Skull. Unfortunately, because Indy is bad at making friends, Mac betrays him for some bread and cheddar, leaving Indy to fend for himself. That is until he comes across Janitor. That is his legal name, by the way. With the help of Janitor, Indy is able to defeat the machine gun rocking, literal chain whipping German and escape on the rocket sled, only to find themselves in everyone's favorite COD map with only a fridge to save them. Then he leaves. He just straight up takes off, gets himself a whole separate table in the diner, despite him and Indy having just survived a Jeep crash, German officer, rocket sled, and nuclear test site. Some real ride or die behavior, and he's gone. Some janitor you are, because that's real dirty, brother. Janitor doesn't scratch that same itch as Rebel Friend does for me, because let's be honest, you're not topping Rebel Friend, but he is as close a second as you can get. Isn't in the movie, solely to be a Player 2, disappears the second the game has another character to fill that spot. Again, not Rebel Friend in terms of impact and cool factor, but still a classic nonetheless. So, that's kind of it. After LEGO Indiana Jones 2, Traveler's Tales tackled a lot of IPs that showcased a wide cast of characters like Harry Potter, The Clone Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean, and overall got better using said characters in levels, so coming up with a completely new character just wasn't really necessary. And while there are a select cases here and there, I can guarantee you just from memory alone, no one comes close to Rebel Friend or Janitor. No shot. But what do you say we fire off a quick lightning round before I take my leave? Anytime Player 2 is forced to play as a clone, while Player 1 gets a Jedi in LEGO Star Wars 3, because clones are way underpowered in that game. It's nuts. They can't even kill super battle droids without using a droid popper first, and even then, it takes years. Mr. Brown in Pirates of the Caribbean, because that mofo was out cold in the original movie. The LEGO Movie video game actually has a couple Player 2 candidates. Cleopatra and Shakespeare help out Vitruvius in the first level. They're obviously not there in the film. A firefighter named Justin Furneaux, I believe, accompanies Emmett after he returns to Bricksburg, and despite being one of the most iconic, recognizable characters of all time, Superman is a Player 2 character as once again doesn't show up in the original scene and is undermined by Player 1, who is Emmett in a mech. Wild. LEGO Hobbit, despite giving you like 60 playable characters each level, gives you an armored dwarf guard in the first level that you get to play as for, like, no joke, 2 minutes. There's a confused goblin that helps Bilbo in Goblin Town, and Balin accompanies Bilbo to steal the Arkenstone, despite Bilbo doing it by himself in the movie. LEGO Force Awakens makes the random stormtrooper Rey uses a Jedi mind trick on to help you escape, and accompany her for a good portion of the level. Pretty creative Player 2 if you ask me. And in LEGO The Incredibles, they rewrite the entire story to have Frozone join Mr. Incredible against his fight with the Omni Droid, explaining him to be lured there with the same promise of being a hero again they use on Bob, and Gazer Beam survives in this game's canon to help Mr. Incredible sneak back into Syndrome's facility. And I think that is really it. You know, I always liked when TT games had to do stuff like this. They really seem to have fun with the characters they added. It almost makes me wish the movies they adapted had more scenes that required them to come up with new and creative Player 2 characters, but then Rebel Friend and Janitor just wouldn't be as special now, would they? So here's to you, the coolest character ever created in fiction and literal sanitation worker, no disrespect to that field of work, for being there for the Player 2s of the world, or even the Player 1s who just wanted a change of pace now and again. From the bottom of mine and everyone else's heart, we love you. Did I miss any Player 2 characters though? For the love of God, let me know in the comments so this video can hit the algorithm. I worked really hard. But with that all said and done, I am Easily Easy, and I will see y'all next time.